What is up, guys? Wraec is here with a new video, and today with another review, rewatch, however you want to call it, of the IDA final battle of the best. This season, once again, I decided against the live stream. We actually did a live stream quite recently because of the release of Void Campaign Island 5. So I was honestly a little bit tired, so I felt like we could just watch it. So first fight I wanna watch together with you guys is Group 2, the final, and we have Morning Coffee here. Well, he has no name in game. His Discord name is Morning Coffee. Pretty standard comp. We have an A tier SQH here, B plus Vulcan DTV, and we have the A minus Star Alchemist Holmes. So pretty strong team overall, pretty high awakenings, 491 million CCL, and going in with the bold move of just setting one team. Pretty hard group, I have to say. We have Daiku in here, X, Centurion, Norman, Gore, all of those people in here. And he came up on top in the fight against Norman. Norman, yeah, that's just a beautiful account. Let's be honest about it. That is just a beautiful account. Stats over stats. We have the S tier DTV here, wonderful. S tier Mockman together with an S tier Feruki Invesa. Just all around beautiful copies. And apparently Morning Coffee won. So let's just watch the final fight. That's it. Norman, last time I saw him, was running a little bit of a burst comp, so maybe Morning Coffee was able to just out-sustain that. If he has a very strong team, that might just be possible. Looks a lot less bursty than the last time I saw it, so a little bit more on the sustain side, seeing 4 GPFs here. I guess the LFA with the Rui Scepter, and then we have a crown on the SQH. That is what I would have guessed. Of course, there's no visual indicator for the Rui Scepter, but that would make sense. Nice taunt here on the enemy Doom Terminator Vulcan. Yeah, having that one in the top 2 highest attack heroes, kind of difficult if you're fighting an HHA with the HHA core that can taunt your DTV in that sense. And then there's also Star Alchemist Holmes, of course, so you're facing a double threat if you run this. Then again, quite difficult to have 2 heroes with higher attack than your Doom Terminator Vulcan and still have relevant attack on your Doom Terminator Vulcan. That requires an awful lot of materials, and most people sadly can't afford that. I have to say the Mockman, 3 chases we saw here on the round 2, pretty good. I mean, that's decent, just not enough. I guess if he got the higher roll with 6 attacks, that would have looked different. He might have gotten a kill right there. But right now, just looking at damage numbers and everything, there's just not too much happening anymore. And obviously we run into the risk of enemy Doom Terminator Vulcan getting his weakness disclosure active. And I guess that was his demise in this case as well. I would imagine on like turn 6, maybe turn 7, we will see Doom Terminator Vulcan active from Morning Coffee's side on the right. That will just wipe out Norman here. Quite sad that this didn't seem to have worked out. But in general, Mockman has a little bit of a difficult position in PvP. Nice damage here on the MFF. Quite good. Does he get the kill? Is that like one of those cases where one of the fighters, one of the competitors gets a kill and then the enemy gets weakness disclosure earlier? That can happen. That's like a very stupid mechanic if you're like slightly stronger than enemy, or a lot stronger even, but the enemy runs a lot of sustain. Then you can get a kill, one of the enemy hero dies, therefore the enemy does less active skills, and your Doom Terminator Vulcan gets weakness disclosure later. But we can see here like there is just no damage. Barely did anything. So Mockman, current meta, bit of a difficult choice. Unless you want to run a hyper-offensive team and really want to clear out enemy units early on. But the thing about this is, like, even if this Star Alchemist Holmes, for example, died, and that MFF died, or that SQH, oftentimes those teams are still pretty functional and can survive. There we have it, the weakness disclosure is active. Not on his Doom Terminator Vulcan though, so a bit unlucky. Now it's active though. Is that a speed game now? And it seems turn 6. Yeah. Weakness disclosure a bit earlier on the Doom Terminator Vulcan of Morning Coffee, so it's like a photo finish here, we have to say. Yeah, and that enabled him to win the fight. Honestly, I think it might just have been better for Norman to use like a panda on his team. On the panda, and then maybe get the GK Defier skill damage, something, wonderful roll on that Vulcan, focus on that, and maybe he could have taken out 1, 2, 3 units. Jesus did that as well, that worked quite fine. And just to avoid getting in that situation where he tries to get the weakness disclosure active first, or has to see who gets the weakness disclosure active first, because we can see Morning Coffee with the clearly weaker team, clearly weaker copies, still winning against Norman here, which is quite sad. For Norman, that is. For Morning Coffee, obviously glorious, winning that group. Highly unexpected, I would say, with all of those guys in here. A lot of those people in here have multiple wins of IDA, so fighting in a group like this is never what you want. But if you come out on top, even better. So congratulations to Morning Coffee. Well done for all the rest. Next fight we are going to watch is actually my fight. Kali won the group. Well-deserved Kali with absolutely solid PvP team. We can show it here. Solid strat and just no close moments here for Kali. Just won that fair and square. I, on the other hand, I lost. We will watch this fight because it's quite interesting. It's the only fight I have ever seen where one of the persons gets 2 weakness disclosure actives. Never seen that before. Usually one person gets a weakness disclosure active, kills the enemy team, and that's done. Here, on the other hand, 2 weakness disclosure actives in that fight. I try to speed that up a little bit. I don't want to comment on it too much. I just want to point out 1, 2 things. When you have a look at the enemy shields, you can see during this fight that my heroes take off a lot of those shields. And some of those heroes are really on the brink of dying. And yeah, you can see it right here. There was like Hurricane Vesa, nearly dead. So I think at any point this could have gone in my direction. Just picking off one hero, picking off a Hurricane Vesa, picking off a PDE, something like that. And that would have been another story. But as it turns out, luck was not on my side during this fight. By the way, glorious animation. I love how they did the animation of the no-skin version of Hyperspace Hunter Ilamak. That is quite great how they did that. Definitely prefer that over the skin animation. But yeah, the luck wasn't on my side in that fight. This is quite visible later on as well. Damage-wise, it was alright. I found some things that I can optimize. I want to go for stronger attack on my DTV. To push through such teams, want to go for better roll on the DTV as well. Maybe even go for a better copy. That's something I haven't really decided on yet. But that should take care of such situations. And you can see even the counterattacks take off shields, which isn't the case in my situation. And there we have it. And that was probably my demise. We were talking about that in the last fight. His SQH died here, so one less hero attacking my DTV, so less layers of analysis, and thereby, sadly, a later weakness disclosure. Even though mine was faster because he was using GPF, I am using AMB on my Vulcan. Yeah, and the next thing is, I have enough damage to get a kill, which is usually good. If you can get it early on, turn 4 would have been great. But what is now lacking is the damage to kill the rest of them. Because there is like a team still left. And I can't get further picks. If I could kill like, I don't know, kill the Vulcan for example, that would be good. Of course, and that would decide the fight immediately. But that just didn't happen. We have some more damage coming out here. Getting a lot more kills. And there we have him ever so slightly surviving. And the meanest thing about this, honestly... And here again, slightly surviving. There was just one hit missing on that Vulcan here to secure that win, even though I got hit by weakness disclosure active. Yeah, you can see not enough damage here to even punch through the AMB of my Hurricane Vesa. but also not enough damage on my side to get the kill here. And we have the second weakness disclosure active, and of course that disables all of my defenses and thereby even making my Ferrokin Besser attackable. The thing is, he got his weakness disclosure active from the last hit he got before he attacked. So that was super unlucky, on top of a lot of super unlucky situations where I just didn't get a kill, or there was just a hint missing, and it's IDA. It's IDA, we talked about this a lot. This is just what happens in IDA. You lose those fights you thought were secure, or you thought you would easily win, and that's just the game. Next fight we are going to look at Garbo. I'm not going to read the entire name, mate. You know why I don't. Versus Kenshin, Garbo here with a pretty nice panda team. Those are quite meta. I talked about this a little bit. Haven't seen one with the ATD. Haven't seen the fight as well. Also fighting against the team with pandas. So I thought this would be quite interesting. And I was eager to watch this, mainly to see how the ATD performs. So I say we hop right in, take a look at that fight. And after that, we have one more fight on Android that I want to watch. I didn't want to make the video too long. So as always, we skip out on a few fights that are pretty similar. It's like meta team versus meta team. That is not too interesting. I think one fight of the most meta team is well enough for us to watch. But I'm quite interested how the ATD is going to fare in here. Obviously, the first advantage that you get is if you have like a lowest life, which seems to be the Ferrokin Besser, quite interesting. I would have expected him to run lowest life Panda. Then again, lowest life Panda, obviously very attackable. Lowest life Ferrokin Besser, way better, can't be crit. You can run some other defenses on her. If the enemy runs Drake, he has a way harder time punching through a Ferrokin Besser than he would have punching through a Panda, and you can collect your Panda buffs all the time. So that is quite nice. Didn't know that he had it set up that way. It's really good, honestly. And so those are some small details where somebody fought like an enemy Drake team, and you can see, okay, he noticed that there is a problem with his team. He noticed maybe that he had like a lowest life Panda and that died all the time, and he found a way to combat that and to make it harder for the enemy to punch through, and just made that so he has his lowest life Ferrokin Besser here. Quite nice, I have to say. Other than that, not really much happening here. I wonder, enemy Vulcan here with some strong hits on the Besser and on the Panda. That was quite devastating, I have to say. Oh, and I just noticed that he's not running a PDE. That is also quite interesting. I mean, there aren't too many CC teams in the meta anymore, but you have HHA CC that can become quite bothersome. But yeah, quite surprising. Usually all of those teams run a PDE, at least somewhere. She is also very good. I mean, PDE is a really strong hero, providing dodge for you, providing tricks, control immunity, just in general, making you basically immune to any control effects as long as she's on the field, unless you have some enemy running like an insane Starwing Jahra. So that's quite great. The thing with Panda on the team, and the reason you really run this, is that you get a lot of attack buffs. And those attack buffs really amplify the damage of your Doom Terminator Vulcan active, and makes it way easier to punch through those defenses, to get kills, and finish a fight even before you have weakness disclosure. But considering we are on turn 4, now going into turn 5, I would expect this to be a weakness disclosure finish. So, didn't really work out at that point. The question, of course, being, would have been any other way if... Ooh! Well, you can see it right here. It's just a little bit late, but those damage numbers here... Oh, those hurt. Oh, this gets way closer. I would have expected both teams to hold up now, and just to let us go into turn 6 where we see the weakness disclosure, but apparently this is not the case. This gets quite exciting towards the end, and there we have HHA getting the kill on the Vulcan. HHA, not really the biggest damage dealer, but he does a lot of it. So he can take off multiple layers of unbending will here. Garble these nuts. making use of his panda in the last moments. I wouldn't have expected that at that point. Then again, of course, we have Crown providing less and less all damage reduction, so it is a little bit easier towards turn 5, turn 6 to take down enemy units. But was quite surprising here to see this active skill taking out multiple enemies right before we get into the rounds where we usually see weakness disclosure. So quite a good fight. Garbo here with a great team, with a great setup, well designed with Hurricane Vesa and getting the well-deserved win. Congratulations on that, mate. Last fight for Android. We have one bonus fight I want to show you guys. Obi-Wan Blub versus Dark Rita. Obi-Wan Blub running a team I really like. I saw that on GOP's account for the first time. God of Pain. He was running that first time I saw it. And obviously we have a wonderful copy of Starwing Jahra here. I saw that today, had to call him out. I said to him that he's a big whale now running an A+ Starwing Jahra on this account. And he said, yeah, makes sense, of course. I mean, it's a Tenon for Hurricane Vesa, so huge attack buff there. And also he has a wonderful copy, S-tier attack, S-tier speed, control precision, control immunity, offset precision, wonderful roll. So very eager to see that fight, very eager to see how that Starwing Jahra performed. And if you are wondering, I was just confused because there is an SS Starwing Jahra, and I said like, okay, didn't he have an A+ a second ago? Why is there an SS? But that is, of course, Dark Rita's SS. The reason this team works so well is, by the way, Starwing Jahra hits the enemy multiple times for a lot of damage when she CCs enemy units. And she hits all the enemies. So it doesn't matter where the debuff of Drake is, Starwing Jahra will hit that specific unit, and she does enough hits if you get enough CC to kill off the unit every time she does an active skill. So she basically gets a kill every time she does an active skill with enough CC'd enemy units. So that's pretty cool. Oh, that is not his main team. We are in the wrong fight. But looking at that, those Starwing Jahra teams, quite a lot of bursts, so not too much harm done here. Where is his main team? Double Panda team. That is quite interesting. But you will see it right now. Every time Starwing Jahra does an active, the enemy with defense down should die. So that's pretty good. And I think he has pretty solid attack on that Starwing Jahra as well. Getting the first kill here nearly already before the Starwing Jahra even did an active skill. You just hope that this enemy unit dies off on turn 1, because if that doesn't die off on turn 1, it will be a little bit easy to pick it off on turn 2. And in best case scenario, you want to get one pick on turn 1, one pick on turn 2. But I'm not quite sure that this is going to happen here. Looks rather close, and it didn't happen. So that's a little bit sad. Enemy is running PDE, but with enough CI offset. Reset on the Starwing Jahra, good star spawns, it still looks like this. The problem that you get though, you do a lot more active skills right after from the Drake, from the Hurricane Vesa, and that frees them from the CC, but there are multiple layers of CC here. We have both effects of Starwing Jahra CC here. We have Horrify from the LFA, so multiple ways to CC here. Didn't get the kill on the SQH. That is quite confusing. Would have expected her to get the kill there. And that is the weakness of this team. If the enemy gets like a Vulcan active, you are in trouble. And that happened here. He survived it, which is great. And that seems quite good. Nice thing about Dark Rita, I don't know if he intended that, but his PDE is quite high up in the HP order. Ooh, weakness disclosure, could you see it? There was weakness disclosure on that Vulcan active once this one broke out. If that guy broke out, that would have definitely been the end of Obi. But that didn't happen. PDE, as I said, on Dark Rita's team is like 4th lowest HPs, or like 3rd highest in that sense. And that, of course, means that defense down will land on her pretty late, making the team pretty reliable against CC. If there was no PDE like 2nd lowest HP, she would have died on turn 2, turn 3, and afterwards there was no way for Dark Rita to actually come back from the CC, and he would have never gotten that one Vulcan active that we saw that was really dangerous to Obi-Wan Blob. Interesting enough, most damage done by the LFA. Usually you see Starwing Jahra doing the most damage on that team. But, I mean, it worked out either way. Quite nicely done. With the Starwing Jahra core and everything. Well-designed team. On both sides, honestly, the other team was quite good as well. Could have been a win for Dark Rita if this last DTV wasn't CC'd, broke out and maybe got this weakness disclosure active. So it was a little bit close on that side, but still well-deserved win by all winners. We will just take a look at all the groups to congratulate the winners. Ragnaru here, Morning Coffee, Kali, then we have DT. DT now, by the way, running LFA, I just saw. Quite interesting. Sadly can't pronounce the name, still congratulations, mate. And there we have Garbo, Obi, Jesus. That would have been surprising. Jesus didn't win. Then we have Gene. And of course, Super God winning against Ubita. I have to say the name once a video, otherwise that would have been sad. So let's jump to the last fight. Last fight now on the Amazon server. By the way, I made top 8. No chance to get any further though. I mean, that is still our team. 73 million versus 496 million. Got slapped by A+ Vulcan and A+ LFA with an A Mockman. Kind of reminiscent of my account. Very interesting. But that's not the fight we want to watch because Soul actually won. He got a champion. I think he already had it before. And of course, his team SFX. Very strong. Very, very strong on his account. I think he had over 10 million attack on that. And that, of course, carried him to the victory here. We want to see that fight. First against this team, where he lost most of his team already. And those fights are pretty short. So, not really a problem to watch 2 fights here. Even though the video is already long again. Always try to keep them a little bit shorter, keep it swift, but with those fights we want to give the winners their well-deserved spot in the spotlight and celebrate their victory here. So it has to take a little bit of time, I guess. And you can see how tanky that SFX really is. You can really see that it's just the strongest hero on the board. Taking no damage at all. I think he runs it with A and B. Seems like he runs it with A and B. Just taking out heroes left and right with counter attacks and active skills. And now we have the impeccable flow active. And that is just going to do a whole lot of damage. Those pandas just stole her armor. So a little bit less tanky as she was before. At least for, I think it's 2 rounds that they steal the armor. And there he just lost all of his team except for the LFA to the SDE dot, the little sun, I think it's called, engulfing sun, I think, that is above their heads, and that did most of the damage really, which is also something I don't really like. Those effects of heroes that are dead and they just keep on damaging your heroes, that is something I really don't appreciate, and I still think is pretty bad design. Now we have the situation for the rest of the fights. It's 2 versus 6, 3 times in a row. We're going to watch one of those fights, and this is going to give you a pretty good idea on how that SFX wins. So strong. The basic skill alone, he has a great roll on her. I can't quite remember it. I know that it was great. Sadly can't quite remember it. But yeah, you can see she's super tanky. She's dodging, and there's the impeccable flow active and the LFA finishing that up. Both doing an insane amount of damage. The LFA damage here is quite insane, considering that is not a homeowner. That is a T5 LFA, S tier of course. And again, I think it's now quite funny, now that we have multiple summoning galas, how many insane copies we have in the top tier on the Amazon account, because here we have an A- DTV, and if you click on other people, here as we talked about it, there are like 3 A tiers on that account. That's the Amazon server. None of those copies were ever traded in the auction house. It's like 1 A tier that was ever traded on the auction house. All of those other copies were summoned in the Awakening Gala, so that's quite fun. In any way, I want to congratulate all the winners of IDA, and if you guys ever compete in that, let me know. I'm happy to show your fights. And I want to congratulate them again, Amazon, Android, and iOS winners. I wish you a great day, and we will see us in the next one.